Carry to extend our gratitude to the leaders, organizations that support our soldiers, as well as mentors, friends, and everyone joining us live via Facebook and YouTube. Thank you. United States Army Reserve Command, and is led by Command Sergeant Major Gregory Betty for the United States Army Reserve Command. The salute battery is from Alpha 2 of the 319th 82nd Airborne Division Artillery and is commanded by Second Lieutenant Daniel Murphy. Before you are the colors and senior leaders of the United States Army Reserve Command Major Subordinate Commands. In front, from left to right, 75th Innovation Command, Houston, Texas, Major General Michelle Link and Command Sergeant Major Sherry Turner. U.S. Army Reserve Medical Command, Pinellas Park, Florida, Brigadier General Michael Yost and Command Sergeant Major John Hilton. U.S. Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command, Airborne, Fort Liberty, North Carolina, Brigadier General Andre Carter and Command Sergeant Major George Conklin. 3rd Medical Command, Deployment Support, Gillum Enclave, Georgia, Major General Joseph Marsiglia and Command Sergeant Major Robert Priest. 63rd Readiness Division, Mountain View, California, Major General Tracy Smith and Command Sergeant Major Eric Bethurum. 76th Operational Response Command, Lake City, Utah, Major General Ernest Litinsky and Command Sergeant Major Jason Goodman. 79th Theater Sustainment Command, Los Alamitos, California, Major General Diane DeRosso and Command Sergeant Major Herman Lukey. 80th Training Command, North Chesterfield, Virginia, Brigadier General Michael Doherty, Command Sergeant Major Christopher Luxinger. 81st Readiness Division, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Major General Patricia Wallace and Command Sergeant Major Benny Hubbard. 84th Training Command, Fort Knox, Kentucky, Major General Edward Merrigan and Command Sergeant Major Scott Henson. 88th Readiness Division, Fort Snelling, Minnesota, Major General Joseph Riccardi, Command Sergeant Major Douglas Diekman. 99th Readiness Division, Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst, New Jersey, Major General Chris Bellinger, Command Sergeant Major Paul Caswell. 108th Training Command, Charlotte, North Carolina, Major General William Dyer III, Command Sergeant Major Stephen Rainey. 200th Military Police Command, Fort Meade, Maryland, Major General Kerry Cowan, Command Sergeant Major Robert Provost. 311 Signal Command, Theater, Fort Shafter, Hawaii, Brigadier General Ray Ferris and Command Sergeant Major Jonathan DeHart. 335th Signal Command, Theater, East Point, Georgia, Major General Jan Norris and Command Sergeant Major Russell Price. 377th Theater Sustainment Command, New Orleans, Louisiana, Major General Justin Swanson and Command Sergeant Major Didiah Musso. 412th Theater Engineer Command, Vicksburg, Mississippi, Brigadier General Matthew Warren and Command Sergeant Major Ray Bartmer. 416th Theater Engineer Command, Darien, Illinois, Major General James Kokoska and Sergeant Major George Bricard. 807th Medical Command, Deployment Support, Fort Douglas, Utah, Major General Bill Salisbury and Command Sergeant Major Tully Culp. U.S. Army Reserve Aviation Command, Fort Knox, Kentucky, Brigadier General Roger Dion and Command Sergeant Major Brian Slaughter. U.S. Army Reserve Legal Command, Gaithersburg, Maryland, Colonel David Barrett and Command Sergeant Major Carlos Arietta. U.S. Army Reserve Military Intelligence Readiness Command, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Brigadier General Melissa Adamiski and Command Sergeant Major Edward Bailey. 1st Mission Support Command, Fort Buchanan, Puerto Rico, Brigadier General Carlos Gorbea and Command Sergeant Major Lorraine Smith. 7th Mission Support Command, Kaiserslautern, Germany, Brigadier General Karen Monday Gresham and Command Sergeant Major Shapur Eskandari. 9th Mission Support Command, Fort Shafter Flats, Honolulu, Hawaii, Brigadier General Catherine Trombley, Command Sergeant Major Corey Thompson. 85th U.S. Army Reserve Support Command, Arlington Heights, Illinois, Brigadier General Michael Shanley and Command Sergeant Major Jeremiah Kelly. The U.S. Army Reserve Careers Group, Fort Knox, Kentucky, Colonel Corey Crishley, Command Sergeant Major Jamie Rogers. The Commander of Troops for today's ceremony is Major General Stacy Babcock, Chief of Staff, United States Army Reserve Command. Representing the staff are Colonel Tina Miller, Adjutant G1, Brigadier General Matthew Metzel, G357, Colonel Alexia Fields, G4, Lieutenant Colonel Aaron Allen, G6, and Colonel Edward Freeman, G8. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party, rendering of honors, and the invocation. General Pappas is deferring honors to Lieutenant General Daniels. Chaplain Michael Ducharme, USAR Command Chaplain, will offer the invocation.
Good morning. I invite you to join me in prayer. Our God in heaven, we give you thanks for this beautiful day and invite your presence as we say farewell to Lieutenant General Daniels, our commanding general. We celebrate Lieutenant General Daniels' great accomplishments as she led our Army Reserve these past 4 years. She has provided nonstop, energetic leadership in transforming USAR culture and training for large-scale combat operations. Yet with these changes in priority and focus, General Daniels managed to provide personal moments of care and mentorship to our USAR leadership and family. This week, may she and John enjoy celebrating with family and friends, and in the days to come, may they find well-deserved rest, travel, and reflection on a job well done. We ask these things with gratitude in your mighty name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Ducharme. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, Second Lieutenant Daniel Murphy, Commanding Officer of the Salute Battery, is presenting Lieutenant General Daniels with a shell casing to commemorate her time in command. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as General Pappas conducts the Relinquishment of Command ceremony. The Relinquishment of Command is a traditional event that is rich with symbolism and heritage. The key to the ceremony is the passing of the organization's colors. These colors represent not only the lineage and honors of the unit, but also the cohesive unity of all its personnel, military and civilian. These colors are not only the commander's symbol of authority, but are a visual citation of the responsibilities to the organization. Wherever the commander is located, so too are the colors. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our host for today's ceremony, General Drew Pappas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And good morning. I just want to thank everybody for coming out today and being a part of this incredible ceremony. And again, for me, it is my personal pleasure to be here with you as we honor America's reserve soldiers, and especially the leader who's been driving their readiness and the high performance of the last 4 years. And I actually want to reflect back on last night first and foremost, because Jody, what I'll tell you, leadership makes a difference. And what really stood out to me last night is the impact that you had on your formation. And you can see that reflected in every narrative and every story and every gift that was given, and the heartfelt warmth that they had for the impact that you had on those formations. And for your mom, for Miss Jean that's there, I just got to tell you, you're never too old to want to make your parents proud. And I can see the pride in your eyes as you're honoring your daughter, Jody, and the impact that she's had. And I do know, because I've seen the t-shirts, that everybody competes to be your favorite child. So this competition's ongoing. But I want to tell you, thank you very much. And last night was impactful. That's all what took place. And for all the commands behind me, thank you for what you've done in order to honor Jody and her execution. You know, and as we get started today, I just also want to commend all the teammates who made this take place, made it happen. You know, this is a professional ceremony. It doesn't happen by chance. From the color guard that's out here to the band, to the salute battery, and everyone who played a role in the background, from putting up these tents and every one of the chairs, thank you. These are important. And it's a great day, and it's a privilege to share it with our distinguished visitors, our leaders, our community partners, the family and friends that are here today. And I first want to look for John Jensen, Sergeant Major Raines from the Army National Guard that are here. They are great teammates that work very well, not only with Jody, but with myself and the Army writ large as we move forward. And you look at driving the reserve component forward. And John, you've committed it. You and I were going out this summer. We're on our motorcycles out there and having a good thing out at Sturgis. You committed to it. Yes. We also have two reserve Command Sergeant Majors that are here, Sergeant Major Lombardo and Luther Thomas. Thanks for coming in. It's good to see you again. And you're a very sharp-dressed man. It's good to see you out of uniform. And just so you understand, it's also a joint ceremony. So for General Len Anderson that's here, he's up from the Marine Corps. He's the Marine Reserve Chief. It's great to see you. And CD, you're a busy man. You're in the middle of a war fighter, but you know the impact, especially with all the deployments, that the support that Reserve has had for all the formations that are moving forward. And it's always great to see Doc Jeff Morgan and Laura that are here. Always a pleasure. Thanks for coming down and being a part of all these ceremonies. And I'm especially glad that we have the opportunity to honor Jody, because 4 years ago, when she came into this command, we couldn't come together. If you recall, that was in July of 2020, and that was the height of COVID-19. And even though many of you and your teammates wanted to be a part of this and help Jody bring her in the right way, the restrictions were limited to a live audience of 9 people. That is literally the size of John's family. So this is our opportunity, as we should, to send Jody out the way we wished we could have brought her in. And these ceremonies, they do matter because they honor our traditions, the significance of command, the strength of the partnerships, and it's an occasion we're celebrating because this USARC headquarters carries some of the Army's most unique responsibility. And for those that serve within it, you know better than most the depth of responsibilities that they run. And I'm going to tell you, I've served alongside the reserves for the better part of my career, and I thought I knew who you were. But from working with Jody over these past few years, listening to her advocate for you and all your soldiers and for your missions, and watching the way that you built readiness here at Forces Command, I've gained an even deeper appreciation for your formations. It's an appreciation not only for how much the work matters, but literally the size and the scope of your force and how naturally distributed you are and how decentralized all the commands are. So from northern Maine all the way down to southern California and beyond, when you look at every flag that's out here, 54 states and territories, a reserve unit that's going to be led by officers and NCOs who might be considered mid-grade or even junior officers here at Fort Liberty, but at Battle Assembly, they are the most senior leaders that are around for miles. They are leading the formation, and they're driving those formations, and they're empowered to lead, and they're inspiring that warrior spirit. And again, the sheer number is astounding. USARC's span of control is more than double any of the 3-star Corps counterparts in the active Army. It's 174,000 warriors. And I use that word warriors because that's what the Army Reserve exists to do, to fight and win our nation's wars. And you do it well. That makes USARC a warfighting headquarters. You're filling all the operational requirements, you're aligning vital training resources, and you're giving our people the tools and the experience that they need to succeed in competition, and more importantly, in combat. And through one of the most dynamic leadership environments of our time, it's been Jody who's expertly nurtured this force. I talked about how she came in at the height of COVID, and it was through this unprecedented time that she found a unique way to bring her formations together, keep them trained, kept them safe, and led them to fill new demands for our nation as medical task forces and distribution experts here at home. And all the while, the world kept changing. And as Jody shepherded this reserve through the end of one 20-year war in Afghanistan, and not long after, into the eruption of conflict in another part of the world that drew our focus to our partners and our allies in Europe. Jody faced each of these challenges, not only as a leader within the Army Reserve, but as one of the Joint Forces' top strategic minds and an empathetic voice for the formations. She's an accomplished scientist. She's brought that intellectual rigor to the fight, and she used that depth of analysis, along with a lifetime of intuition, to transform the ways in which USARC prioritized the leader's time, advanced the soldiers through the ranks, and links its soldiers' military and the civilian expertise. But most of all, Jody's leadership enabled the Army to fight and win. On any given day, 10,000 plus reserve soldiers are among those mobilized to serve America. And many more are ready to join them because of the continuous, tough, realistic training that they and their teams complete. And when they're not training, they're not deploying or fighting and winning, these warrior citizens are vital members of America's communities. I mean, Jody's own story exemplifies that professionalism, that grit, and those sacrifices. Through 20 plus years as a traditional TPU Reserve soldier, she earned 2 masters and a PhD. She worked her way up to director role in Lockheed Martin, and she sat on boards, she's published professional papers, she has led the way. Now she's had to take a couple of those sabbaticals so that she could deploy to combat and lead our forces. Jody, you've been the quintessential reserve soldier, and we're gonna miss you. And for Brother John, we're gonna miss you too. You've always been my friend, like a patriot. You're engaging, you're gregarious. I want to thank you also for committing so much time to teach and advocate for our USARC families. You've led that with distinction. And I know how much you travel in support of the command, because I signed your paperwork. And I hope you know what a profound impact that you two have had. I want to say thank you, personally. And for Jody and John, congratulations on a monumental command tour. Your people could not have asked for a stronger role models and a better leadership team. And personally, from our background together, from the best capstone class ever moving forward, and our previous roles in driving readiness in this headquarters with the commanders here at Marshall Hall, to our time as next door neighbors at Fort Myer. On behalf of Beth and I, we want to thank you both for your leadership, and it's been an honor to call you our friend and to serve alongside you. Now, this is a relinquishment, but of course, there's no such thing, because the Army never breaks continuity of command. So today, Marty Klein is doing what deputy commanders do best. He's stepping up and stepping in to continue moving this organization forward. Now, this is an incredibly busy time for your soldiers. They're conducting some of the most of their major exercises throughout the entire year take place in the summer months. I know, we're heading up to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin just next week. So Marty, on behalf of not just myself, but the Secretary and the Chief of Staff of the Army, you and your leadership team have our complete trust. I want to thank you and Nancy for taking on this additional responsibility and service to our soldiers and their families, so that the Army, not just the active Army, not just the reserves or the Guard, but the total Army is ready. Because there is only one way our soldiers fight and win, and that's together. And thanks to Jody's leadership and those following in her footsteps, I look forward to watching our warfighters train and strengthen the trust the same way in the years ahead, together. Thank you, and good luck in the future.
Thank you, General Pappas. Ladies and gentlemen, the 9th Commanding General, United States Army Reserve Command, Lieutenant General Jody J. Daniels.
Hey. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. First things first, everybody out here, I know you're at rest, but keep moving around, break, color guard, please give yourselves a break of the knees. I don't want to see anybody going down. I know it's wicked hot. Wicked, that's in reference to my former Command Sergeant Major. Up in that northern area. Okay, so to the 208th Army Band, commanded by Chief Slade, thanks for being here and doing what you're doing, being awesome. The Color Guard, Alpha 2nd of the 319th Demon Battery, commanded by Danny for the 82nd Airborne Division Artillery. Thanks for coming and being a part of this ceremony. We really appreciate your energy, talent, and cannon fire. Before I begin, I need to join the Master of Ceremonies in welcoming some of our distinguished visitors. Of course, General Pappas, my reserve component teammates, it is so awesome to have you all here. I don't know if John Mustin made it from the Navy, but I know he's here in spirit, if not otherwise. Vice Admiral Mustin, General Jensen, Director of Army National Guard and Vice Director of the Guard, and soon to be who knows what until we get somebody confirmed to backfill him. He's jack of all trades at this point, along with your Command Sergeant Major Raines there. Marine Chief of Reserve, General Anderson, it's great to have you here. General Smith, it's awesome with you. General Donahue, Donahue's another guy. Donahue, I don't know, I know who you are. General Landis, Mark Landis, who's been the acting First Army Commander and then the Special Assistant to somebody or other, and maybe we'll get him in as the First Army Commander soon. You've been a great partner and teammate. We appreciate all that you have been doing to support the readiness of the Army Reserve. Army Reserve Ambassadors, got Bobby Irvin out of North Carolina, Jennifer Flynn from Florida, Phyllis Wilson out of Maryland, probably a couple of others I missed. We appreciate all that you do and you volunteer for us. Current former Command Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major Betty, Sergeant Major Lombardo, you looking sharp. It's great to see you. And Sergeant Major Thomas, you distinguished history. Command Chief Warrant Officer White, Community and Civilian Leadership. I know we've got a number of folks here from the civilian community. Thank you for joining us today. USARC and OCAR leadership, command teams, you guys are awesome. Distinguished guests, serving and retired general officers, soldier civilians, Thank you for all you have done to make the Army Reserve so incredibly impressive. Okay, so Command Sergeant Major Betty, Command Chief White. Yes, that's Betty and White. Betty White. We only had a short time together, but I know you'll both be fabulous in looking after the welfare of our soldiers and warrant officers. My battle buddy for just about 4 years, Command Sergeant Major Lombardo. We visited one heck of a lot of soldiers and civilians across almost 200,000 person force. We may have missed a few, but thanks to your support and advice and great conversations. My family. It's a large contingent, but if I can get this part, I'll be good. I'm not making any guarantees. Let me get out the Kleenex. Okay. I have a few gifts that I'd like to have presented. For John, here's a small token of my love coming your way. And then for my mom and my sister Rosie, stepdaughter Shannon, and sister-in-law Tracy, we've got some beautiful flowers, summer flowers for y'all to thank you for all of your support. Appreciate it. And I've also got a gift bag there for my brother Jerry. My brother JJ and his wife Barb couldn't make it today, but our thoughts and prayers are with them. Okay. So, starting with my parents, they always supported me and encouraged me through all the hard jobs. MB and DOD, I love you. That says it all. My siblings are special. We do get along. It's an unusual thing, family that actually gets along, and there's nothing that we wouldn't do to support each other. Absolutely nothing. I've been exceptionally blessed to get all the support that I have from JJ, Jerry, Rosie, and their spouses, Barb, Tracy, and soon Heath, along with their kids. Plus my cousins, the Jones, thanks for coming out, and the Fullertons. Then there's those from Clan McCarthy, Shannon, the Laughtons, O'Daniels, the Gallaghers, the Barassos. It means a lot that you all provide as much support as you do. John, now I know it isn't your favorite name. He kind of gets a little cranky about this, but as AKA the sidecar, he's been along my side, for many, many years now, and especially since I was a brigade commander with the MI Readiness Command. After we got married, he embraced the role of senior spouse and made soldier and family readiness groups his mission, along with supporting all of the family programs. And he did so with grace and humor. Thanks for all those problem-solving dinner sessions. I look forward to many more team-building projects in our future. Thank you. I do want to recognize some people who have mentored and supported me for a really long time, starting with my first Army boss, Russ Frew. It's through his encouragement that I made the leap and went to grad school. Unfortunately, the airlines didn't cooperate with him, so he is not here today. He wanted to be here for my first promotion and my departure from service. The airlines didn't help us out on that front. But thanks, I think he's probably online. Major General Rick Sherlock was the person who told me that if I didn't apply to the War College, that I could ever make general. That comment, along with his confidence in me, caused me to apply and made possible a path to reaching general officer. Major General Leslie Purser. Without her support while serving as the MI Readiness Commander, I would have retired. It was a very trying period for me. She convinced me to stick it out, and she kept providing the introductions and great advice that helped me throughout the rest of my career. While in college, it was through a sorority, Kappa Kappa Gamma at Carnegie Mellon University, that I met a group of amazing women with a diverse set of careers and a love of sports and buggy. We remain well connected through the magical power of Zoom. I spent a lot of years in grad school at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and Paula, Celeste, George, and Steve made the trek here. Thanks for helping me reappreciate being outside and initiating my love of whitewater. I want to recognize all my civil affairs and drill sergeant friends. Y'all taught me a ton, and you've had a lasting impact on my career. I won't list all the first sergeants, command sergeant majors. I'm sorry, that's command sergeant major, so I don't get in trouble. Warrants, civilians, officers who taught me something or helped along the way. Please know that I respect you all, and I'm incredibly grateful for your assistance. There were quite a few generals who took an interest in my career and guided me to be a better leader. I especially have to thank General Abrams for letting me loose to learn all I could with the FORSCOM staff. It was a great experience. There's a fun-loving group of international trail runners. I look forward to being out on many more trails with you all, and then downing an adult beverage. To CG-10 Car 35, I know you're going to love this command and enjoy being in the car, and that you'll be fabulous. Thanks for your counsel and friendship over these many years. The Army Reserve will be in exceptionally capable hands with you and your spouse. And in the meantime, I know that Marty's going to do great, and Nancy helping out along the way. When I assumed these roles, I knew I didn't have a lot of time. 48 battle assemblies sounds like a lot, but they go by incredibly quickly. I started in the midst of COVID, which was the ultimate distractor. As we learned to adapt to the environment, I found that I could travel to 4 states in 2 hours by the magical power of VTC. We called them car crashes. As the Chief of Army Reserve, being in the car, I could be a car crash. While Sergeant Major Lombardo and I could interact with quite a few soldiers that way, it wasn't doing a thing for readiness. That, along with the force chime IG inspection on a day in the life, are what prompted me to write a paper. My intent was to give focus to what I wanted the leaders at every echelon and soldiers to do. We needed to get after tough, realistic training done safely. Leaders needed to give their soldiers something to talk about when they returned from their Army Reserve training. My hypothesis was that if soldiers enjoyed themselves enough to talk about what they were doing, then they were all recruiters. If they were excited enough about what they had done, then we'd get more re-enlistments. And if they were gaining proficiency in their skills by doing the training, then we were building readiness. And that was my goal, to build readiness. The biggest hurdle to Army Reserve readiness is having sufficient numbers of mid-grade NCOs and officers. This wasn't a new problem at the start of my tenure. It goes back 10 to 15 years. We've had a unit aggregation strategy for way too long. I wanted to start down the path toward eliminating that strategy. I set a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. I wanted to go from being understrength 3,000 sergeants E5s to being overstrength by 3,000 by the end of my tenure. That was a tremendous team at OCAR G1 who synced with the USARC G1, HRC, DA G1, USAREC, and anybody else we need to talk to knock down impediments to recruiting, reenlistments, and promotions. They did an absolutely phenomenal job in streamlining processes, updating policies, getting exceptions to policies, creating new paths for our citizens to become soldiers and our soldiers to continue to serve. And while they did yeoman's work, the BHAG didn't really resonate. So I asked the question magically one day. It was like, okay, so how long is it taking our sergeant, our specialists, our soldiers to promote to sergeant? And I hit on something at that point. During my tenure, it turned out the Army Reserve had gotten slower by a month every year at promoting our specialists to sergeant. It was taking more than 6.5 years, more than double the best case scenario of 36 months for a soldier to get promoted. Thus, the E5 and 5 initiative was born. Once the sergeants majors were on board, the floodgates opened. Our specialists started promoting in significant numbers. Without going into all the details, our numbers of quality NCOs is growing. I'm incredibly proud of what has been accomplished across the force. I want to thank all of those leaders who continue to recognize the potential in their subordinates and are recommending them for promotion. There was a time when I was a captain where I was highly concerned that I wouldn't get promoted to major. Some of my comments from my senior raters had talked about me caring for my soldiers. I wondered, this was back in the 80s, 90s, if that would make me appear as too female and not considered strong enough to be advanced. After a while, I decided that if caring was going to hold me back from being promoted, then this wasn't the career for me. I was going to continue to be me, regardless of the outcome. Fast forward, June 2024. I'm sitting in a meeting up in DC with a gobs of significant numbers, 2, 3, 4 stars. Along with there's Command Sergeant Major. Imagine my surprise and my joy when at the very top of a chart, it read, leaders have a moral responsibility to care. So indeed, leaders do have a moral responsibility to care. So I implore all the leaders out there across our formations, whether at the 3, 4-star level or down at the team leader level and everywhere in between, would you please take care of your soldiers? For my final ask, to all those who have ever put on a uniform, you represent that less than 1% of the American population that has ever worn a uniform. Would you please share your stories of service? Help educate that 99% who have never put on a uniform. Tell them about your experiences and the opportunities that service provides, what impact service has had on your life. I'll be sharing my stories from a variety of beaches, cruise ships, Antarctica, and a few other places. It has been the honor of a lifetime to command this great organization. So for my last time, ready now. Double Eagle 6, out.
Thank you, General Daniels.
Seat colors. Detachment, move!
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving the benediction, singing of the Army song, retiring of the colors, and remain standing for the departure of the official party.
I invite you to receive the benediction. And now, as we depart to travel, lead, and serve our USAR soldiers and families, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
Sir, this concludes the relinquishment of command ceremony for the 9th Commanding General of the United States Army Reserve Command.
Ladies and gentlemen, remain in place for the departure of the official party and families. Lieutenant General Daniels and Mr. McCarthy will receive farewells in the front of the building. Thank you for attending. Ready now, shaping tomorrow.
Whatever,